Welcome back to Dave's Place and to part 2 of what lies beneath the surface of Lake Lanier. Before we begin part 2 covering Looper Speedway, I wanted to provide an update to the first video and the image of the house. David Coughlin contacted me to provide some insight. David authored the book Lake Sidney Lanier, a storybook site, which covers the early history and construction of Buford Dam. His book contains mountains of information and pictures about the lake. When you see the construction of the house, you realize it's likely the only standing building under the surface. So far, my scans have revealed no wooden structures. Okay, so moving on to part 2. We decided to scan the area of the lake where old Looper Speedway was located. Knowing this racetrack was dirt, I'm pretty confident there's nothing to see on the muddy bottom of Lake Lanier. But the racetrack always becomes a topic of conversation when people discuss what got flooded by the waters of the lake. So let's take you with us as we make our first scans across the track. Question is, will we find anything? So let's go for a short boat ride to Laurel Park and find out. Opening in August 1948 off of US 129 was Looper Speedway, now sitting in 35 to 40 feet of water off the banks of Laurel Park. It's a half-mile, semi-banked dirt oval track. Common dimensions for the period would have been 645-foot straightaways and turns with a radius of 215 feet. If we can see anything of the track, we are hoping to see the stands and possibly the backsides of the bank turns. So the racetrack, we should be, I'm kind of figuring that we're going to be on like the front straightaway, I guess you would call it. And I would, obviously if there was something there, you would see it. No signs of anything other than dead flat. I mean, it's just crazy. 35.2, 35.3, 0.4. But no signs of anything. I kind of was hoping that we might see, even if it was like a foundation for a concession building or a ticket booth or anything. But I just don't think we're going to get that lucky.
There's fish.
There's always fish. All the little bait balls. Alright, so now I'm going to go and I'm going to spin it around. Look, there's a little ridge of something right there.
I don't know. And how far have we gone?
See where we're at.
Because there was another little ridge that could be edges of the racetrack that suddenly filled up from the turn.
It's possible. That wouldn't be a very straight turn though, and it shows it to be awfully big. That's 300 feet that way to where we're at. But you don't know. I'm fixing to turn it around. And it's so difficult because you're trying to, so there's something that's kind of popping up. Is that same?
Probably gonna be that same thing.
Well, that's very possible the way that's banked like that. Maybe it is a little bit of the bank. Maybe we've just literally seen the first evidence of the racetrack. So after making our passes across the track and looking at what we thought might have been part of the banked turns, we decided to take a run and go by the stands. We know they're along the shoreline, and we wanted to see if we could capture them on the side scan. We're going to see what was going to look like little ridge lines. What we're just starting to figure out at this point while we're doing this videoing is that as the boat moves, it also distorts. It'll take a straight line and it'll make it crooked. So just because the line isn't straight doesn't mean that what we're shooting isn't straight. And you're going to see that as we approach these bleachers, which are coming in right now. This is the upper part of the bleachers. And look, here is the lower part of the bleachers. And you'll see as it's coming into play, there's an area in the middle where you don't see the bleachers. And that is sediment. And if you look at the picture of when the lake was down, you'll see that the top areas of the bleachers are exposed, and then there's a sediment that shows up. And that sediment obviously is what disappears into the water. We can't see these bottom rows because the lake never gets that low. But it's pretty evident that in fact that's what we have is the top rows of the bleachers, the sediment buildup, and then the bottom. This would be the embankment going down before the actual track surface, which is probably right around in here. And again, this would all be straight if the boat were going straight. What I thought was interesting was right here, if you'll look really close, you'll see these little bitty dots in between those rows. Again, going back to one of the pictures that we have, you'll see where the steps are poured to create the little stairway to go down the bleachers. And I believe that is what we're looking at there. So we spent a few hours over a couple of days scanning the bottom and marking the various spots of the track. We were really surprised to be able to see anything except maybe the track stands along the bank. As you can see, it's there. We hope you enjoyed watching, and as we discover more, we'll share. Until then, we'll continue searching for what lies beneath the surface of Lake Lanier.